The wind on Kepler 442c howled like a wounded beast. Lieutenant Daniel Reyes tightened the seals of his exploration suit as dust storms rolled across the violet plains. The planet had been marked as Sector 7, Death Zone, by the United Earth Exploration Fleet. No known intelligent life. No survivors. Just toxic air pockets and unstable terrain. Daniel's orders were simple. Scan the abandoned alien battlefield. Recover technology. Leave before nightfall. But nothing about that planet felt simple. The ground beneath his boots shimmered with shards of metallic glass, remnants of some massive conflict that had happened long before humans ever arrived in this star system. Daniel crouched beside a broken alien craft half buried in sand. "Fleet Command," he said through his comms, "I'm picking up unusual energy signatures beneath the wreckage." Static crackled. "Proceed with caution," the operator replied. He stepped forward. Then he heard it. A faint sound. A breath. Someone was alive. Daniel froze. The death zone wasn't supposed to have survivors. He followed the sound through twisted metal until he reached a crater. Inside, half covered by ash and debris, was a figure. At first he thought it was just another alien corpse. Then it moved. Daniel jumped down into the crater and brushed away the dust. His visor lights illuminated a face. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her skin carried a faint silver glow. Long strands of white hair spread across the ground like frost on glass, and delicate markings shimmered faintly along her temples. An alien woman, barely alive. Her breathing was shallow, and strange crystalline wounds ran across her side. Daniel activated his scanner. The results confused him. Unknown species, female, extremely high biological energy readings. The readings were so high they barely made sense, which raised a question. Why would someone like this be left in a death zone? He hesitated. Protocol said he should call it in and wait. But the storm clouds on the horizon were turning black. If he waited, she would die. Daniel made a decision. "Fleet Command," he said calmly. "No survivors found. Continuing sweep." He muted the channel. Then he knelt beside the alien woman. "Hey," he whispered. "You're not dying today." He carefully lifted her. She weighed almost nothing. Her eyes fluttered open for just a moment. They were deep violet. She looked at him in confusion and whispered a word he couldn't understand. Then she passed out. Daniel carried her back to his dropship as the storm began. Inside the small vessel, he placed her on the medical table and activated the automed unit. The machine scanned her body. Then the warning lights flashed red. Unknown physiology detected. Treatment protocols unavailable. Daniel groaned. Of course. He stared at the alien woman. If the med unit couldn't help, she would bleed out. He studied the wounds again. They looked crystalline, like fragments of energy had cut into her body. Then he noticed something strange. The wounds were slowly spreading, like poison. Daniel frowned. "All right," he muttered. "Time for human improvisation." He removed his gloves and carefully cleaned the wounds with sterile solution. The moment the liquid touched her skin, the silver markings on her temples glowed faintly. Her breathing steadied. Interesting. He tried again. This time he applied a biogel patch. The wound sealed. Daniel blinked. Okay, that worked. Over the next hour, he patched the rest of her injuries. Slowly, the alien woman stabilized. The storm outside raged against the dropship hull, and Daniel sat beside her, watching. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. As if answering, she finally opened her eyes. Fully this time. They were brighter than before, and far more aware. She looked around the ship, confused. Then she saw him. Her eyes widened. "You are human." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You speak English?" Your language is being translated by my implants, she said weakly. Then she tried to sit up. Pain shot through her side. Daniel quickly helped her lie back down.
Easy, he said.
You were half dead when I found you. She studied him carefully. You should not have done that. Oh. Daniel smirked. Why not? Her expression turned serious. Because if my enemies discover I am alive, they will kill you. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Yeah, he sighed. My life keeps getting more complicated. The alien woman watched him for a moment. Then she asked something unexpected. Why did you save me? Daniel shrugged. Because you were alive. She looked genuinely confused. That is not a common reason among my people. Well, Daniel said, humans are weird like that. For the first time, she smiled faintly. Then she whispered, My name is Lyriel. Daniel nodded. I'm Daniel. But before he could ask anything else, the ship's warning alarm screamed. Daniel jumped to the console. Multiple ships were entering orbit. Alien ships. And they were armed. Fleet Command. Daniel called urgently. I've got unidentified vessels approaching fast. The response came seconds later. Lieutenant, those aren't unknown. Daniel frowned. Then who are they? The voice hesitated. They belong to the Archon Dominion. Lyriel's face went pale. Daniel noticed. You know them? She closed her eyes briefly. Yes. Her voice became cold. They are the ones who left me here to die. Daniel stared at the approaching ships on his radar. There were 12 of them. Too many. Great, he muttered. Just great. Then Lyriel said something that made his stomach drop. They are not here for you. Then who? She looked directly at him. They are here for me. The Archon ships descended through the storm like predators. Daniel powered up the dropship engines. Can you stand? He asked Lyriel. Barely. Good enough. She struggled to sit up while he prepared the ship for takeoff. Daniel, she said quietly. Yes. If they capture me, they will kill every human in this sector. Daniel paused. That seems excessive. They believe humans helped me escape. Daniel laughed nervously. Well, technically. She gave him a look. Daniel sighed. Okay, fair point. The radar beeped again. Enemy fighters were launching. They had minutes. Where can we go? Daniel asked. Lyriel hesitated. Then she said the last thing he expected. My homeworld. Daniel turned. You're serious? Yes. Your enemies will expect that, which is why they will not expect us to arrive alive. Daniel stared at her. You realize I'm just a survey pilot, right? You are also the man who saved my life. She met his gaze. And right now, you are the only ally I have. Daniel exhaled slowly. Then he grinned. Well, princess. She froze. Wait, how did you know? Daniel pointed to the scanner readings still blinking on the console. Energy signature, royal genetic markers, fancy glowing tattoos. It wasn't that hard to guess. Lyriel looked shocked. Then embarrassed. You weren't supposed to notice. Too late. Daniel powered the engines. The dropship lifted from the ground just as enemy fighters appeared above the storm clouds. Missiles locked onto them. Daniel pushed the throttle. The ship shot into the sky. Hold on. The first missile streaked toward them. Daniel rolled the ship sideways, diving between lightning clouds. The explosion lit the sky behind them. Lyriel gripped the seat. You are insane. Daniel laughed. Yeah, I've been told that before. The fighters chased them through the storm. Laser fire flashed across the sky. Daniel flew like a madman. Then he saw something strange. The Archon ships were hesitating, like they were afraid to shoot directly. Wait, Daniel said slowly. They're holding back. Lyriel nodded. Yes. Why? Because if I die, their entire war ends in failure. Daniel grinned. Good to know. He slammed the hyperdrive controls. The dropship jumped into warp. Silence filled the cabin. Lyriel stared at him. You just kidnapped a princess and escaped an entire fleet. Daniel leaned back in his seat. Technically, he said, I rescued a princess and stole her from an entire fleet. She studied him carefully. Then she began to laugh. A real laugh this time. And for the first time, since the death zone, she looked hopeful. 3 days later, the dropship exited warp above a breathtaking world. A planet of glowing oceans and floating cities. Lyriel stared at it with quiet emotion. My home. But the moment they approached orbit, hundreds of defense ships surrounded them. Weapons locked. Daniel raised his hands. Okay, I'm guessing they didn't expect you either. Lyriel activated the ship's transmission. Her voice became regal. This is Princess Lyriel of House Arcanes. The fleet froze. I have returned. Silence. Then every ship in orbit powered down their weapons. Daniel blinked. Well, that worked. Lyriel looked at him. You saved more than my life, Daniel. How so? She smiled softly. You saved my people. Moments later, the royal fleet escorted them toward the capital. Daniel watched the shining cities grow larger through the viewport. He never expected his simple mission to end like this. But one thought crossed his mind. Saving one alien woman had nearly started a war. And somehow, he suspected the story wasn't over yet. Lyriel stood beside him and quietly said, You know, according to my people's laws, the one who saves a royal life becomes bound to them forever. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Bound how? She smiled mysteriously. That is a story for another day. And as the dropship descended toward the alien capital, the human who refused to leave someone behind became part of a destiny far larger than he ever imagined.